Hi, my name is Naomi Nobles, and I'll be presenting why college shouldn't be a financial burden. So first off, I have a graph representing US tuition versus European tuition. The average tuition for a bachelor's degree in Italy is $1,985. So that's $7,000 less than the US. And the average tuition for a bachelor's degree in the US is about $9,300 without room, books, or any cafeteria details, anything of like that. From what I can recall, through high school, I was encouraged and pushed through to get to college. And yet at the same time, I was told to apply for multiple scholarships, to apply for financial aid or any type of aid because college was expensive. However, it seems compared to various countries, it's a very high tuition. In fact, according to Lakita Westbrooks, there's as many as 7 universities in Iceland that offer a college tuition with less than 5% or free, and most of them being made up by students from Iceland, with a very small percentage of international students. And the free tuition applies to everyone. This is not only beneficial to the students because it's taking off a financial burden, but also to the country in general because you don't have that much debt accumulating. And by allowing international students, this provides a mesh of cultures. In comparing the US grads and Iceland grads, they have a similar graduating rate of 64%. So college being free doesn't necessarily mean that Iceland students slack off or leave classes, as they have the same graduating rate as those students who pay for tuition here. Student loans and the economy. As I mentioned before, the US has a very high rate of tuition. So looking further into the fact that other countries have a similar success rate with free college, why doesn't the US just make it free? Well, we have to take into account student loans. According to Melanie Hansen, student loans in the US are $1.814 trillion in annual growth. More than 20% of students have student loan debt. They are categorized at the same debt as mortgages. And honestly, the government doesn't want to lose money. So there's a large portion of students who take loans in order to pay a career that they never finish because their student loans keep increasing. The stress and jobs at the same time as education, it just pressures you, which makes you lose focus. According to EdSource, students who attend free community college graduate at higher rates, have less debt, and contribute more to society. Tennessee's First Promise students cohort a 52% success rate compared to those who paid, which was a 38.9%. We also have to take into account that the unemployment rate among workers without a high school diploma was nearly triple the rate of workers with a bachelor's degree. Meaning, if you don't have a degree, you don't have a job, at least now in the US. And what does that mean for the US? Less money, less student loans getting paid. And that causes a problem. The problem created due to the lack of money to pay for school or just to work. The issue is that if we take taxes into account, taxes will be higher for free college, and according to the US, that doesn't necessarily benefit the economy. Now, from what I believe, student loans not only hinder students going to school, but they're stuck with whatever is more affordable to them, whatever is in their reach. with free college, you get to explore the careers you want. Even if it's a 2 or 3 year college, that gives you a push to get a regular or a higher paying job to pay off that tuition. And I'm going to give you a personal example. I think a specific example of that would be one of my friends. I have a friend, just turned 35. She wanted to be a teacher. She couldn't afford it. She went to Mexico, she got her teaching license. She came back, they don't take her teaching license. So she has a college degree. She's taught. She paid this money in Mexico because it was less expensive, but now she works as a waitress. In order to get her degree renewed, she has to pay tuition. If I'm not incorrect, it was $10,000 per year. So she's unhappy with her job. She works at it, but she has said several times if she had the opportunity to get the aid or get a free college or get a cheaper college, she would take it. We also see an example of this with a study by Become Upmarty Americans. 79% of adults support the concept of free public education to those who are academically interested. So if you're interested in college and want to pursue a career, 79% of adults support it. Switching jobs is something that's becoming very often now in the US due to the fact that they desire different skills or don't like their jobs or don't have the things that they need to keep that job. So what does that mean? That sometimes people in business, people in medical school need a touch up in these skills. They need to take classes which are usually provided by college teachers, college courses, medical courses, higher education. And what does this mean? People are not willing to spend money to keep the job. So they just go ahead and dismiss it. You know what? I'm going to change my job. I don't want it anymore because I have to pay for it and it's going to be too expensive. So CFT asked adults whether they intended to enroll in education or training for the next 2 years if it was free. Reflecting on the demand for a better job, right? 37% of adults said they would do so now or in the very near future if those courses were paid for. What does this mean? This means that they're willing to go into higher education if it's paid for them. So we've come to the end of this, and what I mean to say is education shouldn't be so expensive. It limits students, it limits the economy, and it limits the workplace. If we had a free education, free college tuitions, or a very reduced price such as other countries do, we would have a similar graduating rate. We would have better jobs, a better economy, and better overall. Thank you.